Welcome everyone to this week's water cooler chat, where we talk about all things Livepeer. If you are new to the water cooler chat, where we have just a round robin of topics and to discuss all things Livepeer. So, what we'll do here is we'll start with our regular introductions, and then we'll go through all the topics and see if we can learn and grow as a community. So, I will start with introducing myself, and then I'll go down the list. So. I'm Titan. I go by TitanNode. I run the TitanNode Orchestrator. Been operating since May of 2021, and our goal is actually I've adjusted the goal of TitanNode Pool. It's now to become the most high-performing pool on the network. That is the goal. And today's topic is going to be all about the Livepeer Summit that's coming up on April 20th, and how we can maybe represent Livepeer in a good way and what that looks like coming up. So I would like to talk a little bit about that. So I'll move on and we'll go through the rest of the introductions. Authority, would you like to introduce yourself and a topic?
Hey guys, Authority Null. I've been running my Orchestrator since November 21. Specific topic that I have, I spoke to some people at NFTLA, and I'm curious if Livepeer would benefit from being like a multi-chain platform. I don't know if that makes sense, but like using multiple L2s. I don't know if that would benefit us in any way. I'm super curious if that would add any benefit whatsoever.
That's actually a good topic. I don't think we brought that up before. So we will definitely jump into that. I have some opinions on that, and I'm sure other people do too. So thank you for joining us, Authority. Frank, would you like to introduce yourself and a topic?
Yeah, sure. Hey, all. I'm Frank. I'm running Ultima Ratio Node with Sienna since May 21. I have no particular topic tonight.
Very cool. Thank you so much for joining us. Papa Bear, would you like to introduce yourself and a topic? Papa Bear, are you with us? Okay, we'll come back to Papa Bear. Maybe his mic is not working or something. We'll move on to LPTNode. Would you like to introduce yourself and a topic?
Evening all. Have been running my node from Old Jersey for almost exactly a year now. Another week, it'll be a year. I don't have a topic of my own, but I'm very interested in the Arbitrum node discussion that I think Ryan proposed.
Very cool. Yes, thank you so much for joining us. And we have next up Ryan with Nightnode. Would you like to introduce yourself and a topic?
Hey guys, my name's Ryan from Nightnode. I've been running my node since September, and I don't really have a topic for today. But if you guys want to talk about the Arbitrum node thing, that'll be cool.
Very cool. Thank you so much for joining us. Elite Proxy, would you like to introduce yourself and a topic?
Hey, this is Elite Proxy. I run the Elite Encoder node. I've been operating since around October from Ohio and North Carolina. I don't really have a lot today. One thing I was looking at was a suggestion by Papa Bear to run on either a single GPU setup or a single process per GPU. Due to a perceived bug that led to ghost stream spikes every 27 minutes. I actually had tested that out this weekend and ran into a similar issue still with only one GPU. So maybe share some of those results. And it seems to be an open, long-standing issue, so not a big topic, but just something to add my experience to.
Very cool. Yeah, I would definitely like to jump into that. We'll go through that together because I didn't even know there was that bug that it existed. So very cool. Thank you for joining us, Elite. Syrinx Node, would you like to introduce yourself and a topic?
Sure. Yeah, so I've been running a Livepeer node since early September. I guess next week I'll have some interesting announcements regarding kind of some stuff that I'm doing with Livepeer directly. And most recently, in terms of my node, I've mostly been working on some very basic deployment hardening techniques Since I found kind of about as far as you could go with some stuff from HashiCorp. And there was a really cool platform, open sourced, called SecureEnv, which basically removes a lot of the risk of having the box you're running an orchestrator on being compromised. And the idea is just limiting how much risk there is of the keys you have being discovered or your identity being moved around with your orchestrator. So it's been interesting working on that. Yeah, and then excited to be in Amsterdam in a few weeks when the rest of the team at Livepeer and some other orchestrators will be there as well. So that'll be cool.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm excited to hear what you're working on with the key management and safety. And yes, for everyone that's going to be in Amsterdam, very exciting. Thank you for joining us, Syrinx. Papa Bear, would you like to try again? Are you with us?
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, obviously, I don't know what other topics were brought. Oh, sorry. I am Papa Bear. I run Solar Farm. I've been running it since July last year. And sorry, I'm just kind of a little disoriented here. So my topic for the week, I'm assuming that's the point we're at, is do we know why the payouts change since we moved to L2? I know that they were static from the time that I originally started, but I don't believe that they were maybe previous to that. And I was just wondering if someone knew that, and then I had a follow-up question once we start talking about that. So my topic is, why are the payouts different amounts?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know the answer, and hopefully someone in here does. So thank you for joining us, Papa Bear. Great to see you again. Chase Media, would you like to introduce yourself and a topic?
Hi everyone, it's Rebecca here. I'm running the Chase Media node and have been doing so since sort of early this year. And I've been involved with Titan Node project since last year. And I'm just here to listen in, see what's been going on, and you know, hear about the events that are coming up. So thanks very much. It's good to hear everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us, Chase. Next we have Kish. Kish, would you like to introduce yourself and a topic? Kish, are you with us? Unfortunately, I can't hear you. Maybe your mic isn't working or something, but maybe we'll come back to you, and if you want to leave or join again or try to figure that out. But just, yeah, we'll continue on. So, okay, here we go. We got a couple of topics, and if anyone is in the audience and wants to come join us, please just raise your hand, and I'll invite you up to the stage. This is a totally open and free space to come chat, introduce yourself, and ask any question about Livepeer. No question is too dumb to come and learn. This is just an open forum where we can learn, discuss, and grow. So let's jump right into it. The first thing I want to talk about is the Livepeer Summit coming up. Now we have who here knows a little bit about the Livepeer Summit? I guess some of you may have read the article. But yeah, this is going to be Livepeer's biggest event ever, coming up in Amsterdam on April 20th. Who's going to be attending it in here? I know that Syrinx said he was going to be there. Is anyone else planning on being there? I think Franck had mentioned. Franck, are you able to make it? You had messaged that you were possibly able to make it.
Sorry?
Are you able to make it to the Livepeer Summit in Amsterdam?
Oh yeah, sure. I will be there. Sorry.
Very cool. I'm excited to meet you all when we all arrive there, and there will be an orchestrator panel. So there will be a spot to answer questions about being an orchestrator during a specific panel. This came up because I guess like something like 20 or 30 Livepeer employees or devs are actually coming to the Amsterdam meeting, and most of them are not active in Discord, and most of them don't really, well, I've never been to one of these water cooler chats, and I guess the general consensus is they don't know much about orchestrators. They spend a lot of time probably more on the broadcaster-facing side and the developer programming side. And so it's an opportunity for us to come in and explain our point of view on the network and things like this. So yeah, there'll be a Q&A session, quite a broad Q&A session. So if you are an active orchestrator, let me know if you can make it to Amsterdam, and I'd be happy to get you up on the panel. So yeah, that's pretty exciting. That'll be on the 20th. I don't know if there's tickets yet. I haven't seen any yet, but hopefully those come up. So I just want to make that quick announcement. Yeah, does anyone have any questions about the Livepeer Summit in general?
Are there going to be any broadcasts of it live or anything to check out online?
So this I don't know, but I was planning just for myself bringing, obviously just my iPhone, and maybe a few microphones, like one of these like collar microphones that people can just hook up their own phone to, and then just kind of record it myself. And even, I don't know if I'll live stream it. That might be just too much work. But I will definitely be recording what I can. Hopefully the venue they have has professional setup for recording, so it can all be played back. But from past experience, even the professionals screw up. And I wish I just took my own camera and took my own little microphones and gave them out. So that's what I'm planning on doing, is bringing at least some extra backup equipment. So yes, there will be.
If you
If
you want to know for sure, you can could probably just send a message to Meredith, and she'll let you know if they plan on recording it.
Yeah, I don't know if yeah, I'll ask Meredith. We'll have to ask her. But for the orchestrator session specifically, I'm probably going to be giving or asking the orchestrators if I can record it myself as Nightnode, because then I can publish that on the Nightnode YouTube channel. Yeah, something like that.
Is this the first Dev Connect that they're doing? That's what I read.
I don't know if it's the first, but I know it's the biggest. Like, this is like I know Doug was doing a big push to make this a big event for Livepeer.
I think there was the thing was like a parent organization. It was either Dev Connect or something else, but it looked like they were doing it in different locations. So any chance in the future they might do one in the States?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I wasn't even aware of Dev Connect, to be honest. I thought ETH Global was the bigger thing, and I thought ETH Global would be
okay.
I thought we'd be sponsoring more, like, and because it was in the US, I thought like the ETH Denver was going to be like a big thing. But I guess Dev Connect in Amsterdam is going to be the big thing. So I don't know.
I'll look into that. Thanks, ETH Global.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure ETH Global is like the big. I've never even heard of Dev Connect until now. So I'm sure it's a big deal. Any other questions about the Livepeer Summit? Even though I have no authority to answer anything on it, I just wanted to see if, what the general consensus around it was. Cool. Yeah. No, I'm pretty excited for it. Let's move on to the rest of the topics. Authority. You talked about multi-chain platform. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I met a couple of guys, some founders of a L2 network at NFTLA, and it just got me thinking about Livepeer possibly in the future using multiple L2s instead of just Arbitrum, and how that might look. I know we can only use one endpoint as an orchestrator, so I'm not really sure how that would work. But they made it seem, obviously they were hyping up their network. It's called BobaNet. They made it seem like it was pretty simple to use multiple layer 2s. So I'm just curious what you guys think of that.
Yeah.
I think like the engineer side of me, I guess like I'm cautious with a lot of like really new L2s. Like obviously like in theory that would be fantastic, right? Because then you'd be able to sort of load balance in a sense, or understand which L2 might grant better performance. I guess like when you say this was exciting and like it seemed cool, we're outside of what these boba guys were saying, like what in your opinion would be and maybe keep it more on the basic end for people who aren't technical, but what do you think like the best advantages of having multiple L2s would be, other than just, I guess, like the banal kind of scaling issue?
Honestly, the only thing I can really think of is the stability. Arbitrum has had some issues, and maybe if we were using two L2s, we could, like you said, load balance between each one so that if one were to go down, we'd still be able to receive streams.
Definitely.
The only
cool.
thing,
Yeah,
I mean,
go ahead.
the only issue for that would be if your broadcaster's on the Ethereum side of it, and then you have an L2 or whatever that is, unless you're saying like all of it's going to be Ethereum L2s, but just different, use it for load balancing. But if it's like you're going to do multi-chain, is that what you're referencing? I'm sorry. Because if you're doing multi-chain, like one Solana, one is ETH, then that they might not cross connect, and then you'll still lose the streams.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was
Right.
curious of too, is if it meant like, like purely just L2s or literally like bridging across multiple chains.
I'd be
It
interested
would be
in
nice to see. Sorry.
no worries. I'd be interested in knowing more about both. I'm really just scraping the surface of this, so
From
Yeah,
my
I think it'd be good to just have more exposure, right? Like if someone's going to develop the Solana network, then that gives you a new audience, right? Like if you were to expand that way.
I think there's a big difference though between cross-chain payments for broadcasters and then like cross-chain orchestrating. There's really, in my opinion, there's no point of having cross-chain orchestrating. Like the Livepeer token lives on the Ethereum network. You don't want to bridge the tokenomics, I guess, if you will, the token structure across chains. And there's really no benefit. Like if there's 100 orchestrators, we can all just be on Ethereum or Arbitrum. It doesn't really affect the user side. The only thing that affects the user side or the broadcaster side is like payments. So like if payments were cross-chain, I think that would make sense. Like if you could pay in Solana on Solana for Livepeer, but all that would happen was go through a bridge, an automated market maker, get converted into ETH on Arbitrum and pay, right? So that's the only benefit I would see from cross-chain is for broadcasters. For orchestrators, not only do I think it's not really a benefit, I don't think it's possible. Just my 2 cents.
And when you said instability in the Arbitrum network, were you just referring to RPC endpoints in general, or is there some other issue?
I only know of the RPC endpoints and Arbitrum going down a few times. I don't know if there's anything else going on there. Although it's been pretty stable the last week or so.
Yeah, and I was thinking
there have been issues where there's been drops in the past week, but it's nothing like drastic like we had in the past where it's like every single person loses it. But Papa's been kind of tracking when people have outages, and he's trying to come across like where this person's running their own node and they stayed up. So it might just be an issue with Alchemy and Pier because a lot of us rely on that. Yeah, there's been some outages. Temporary.
Yeah, I think some broader solutions to that would be everyone's talked about multiple RPC. Being able to configure in your orchestrator having multiple RPC endpoints. One is a failover. I think it's a great feature request. And then also the bigger term solution is probably everyone running their own RPC node, which I think a lot of people have done. I'm still working to get there.
Yeah, we just probably like yesterday got to the point where we had our RPC node live. It turns out you can use get flight, so you'd have to fully sync your node all the way up, and then after that you can restart it on a get flight node. so you don't have the whole 600 gig requirement from a full node, which will significantly reduce the your overhead if you can get with like a smaller drive and all that other stuff. But we're also working on trying to do load balancing. Currently, like we're gonna do something like ARB1 and then ARB2, and then those are gonna load balance or do failovers like primary and secondary to another domain name, and then that's going to be like it's going to do health checks, and hopefully, and you'll it's not going to stop you from losing your stream. You'll lose your stream, unfortunately, but at least it should then kick over to the second one, and you can get back up.
Nice. I wonder what the general stability of running your own node is versus using a service. I mean, we've had a lot of trouble out of the bigger services, but have you seen any major issues with you running your own node?
The only issue, like for example, I restarted, like I wanted to add some other flags to get metrics and to export to Prometheus. If you don't set it up properly, you're looking at about a half to an hour before you can actually get it back up. The restart is insanely long, unfortunately. So it's not like you can just make a small change and like test things out. It's like you need to know what your flags are going to be, what your configuration is going to be up front. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting a long time between each testing session.
Yeah, I've been finding the same thing. I'm trying to get a node running now. I'd added the pruning parameter to it, and for some reason that's failing. But it seems to sit there for about 30 to 40 minutes before that fails, and then it sits there for 40 to 45 minutes with the database open before it actually processes any transactions. So for me, every time I start my node, it's taking up well over an hour, which means that if we have to do that on a production basis, it means any nodes pointed at it are going to be without any traffic for an hour.
Yeah, this is where you'd want to have like a failover. I mean, I haven't found a way to do this like just taking Arbitrum's public RPC node and making that the failover. I don't know a way in which I can do that. But if you can get like people who are willing to give you the IP address and port, you can then just add that in. You can add the IP address into as like an A record and fail over to it through like Route 53, and then you'll have a little bit of downtime. You'll fail, and then it'll jump to the second one. But at least then you can like actually kind of do some kind of maintenances where you'll at least be able to move to something else without having to go and reconfigure, the URL for everybody from all your nodes. And Adrian, if you want, I can send you the config that I had or that I'm running for the node, if it helps.
It would be good to have a look at it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
For sure.
Authority, do you want to finish up on your topic about cross multi-chain, what the conversation was like and what the benefit you think would, and then jump into NFT LA for us. I know we touched on it at the very beginning, but I think everyone here would be interested to hear how that all went.
Yeah, in terms of the multi-chain, I think all my questions were answered. I would say that it's probably just, if people are thinking about it in the future, it's probably simpler just to keep it on the Ethereum network and not really think about multi-chains, completely different networks. But yeah, NFTLA was a ton of fun. It was very interesting to meet a lot of different people there. The audience of that event was very interesting. There were people from all walks of life, and not just people trying to show their NFTs, but also a lot of network-based platforms that were trying to push out their product. And it was super cool to meet those guys. And one thing I found was most people, even the people who are running streaming-based platforms, have no idea what Livepeer is, or maybe have heard of it once, but aren't interested enough to look into it. So I feel like there's a lot we can do in that regards to get Livepeer out there, because there's a lot of streaming platforms that are paying an arm and a leg for the transcoding service. So I think the solution is already happening, and that's all the events that we have coming up, and a big push on the marketing side, and the website getting a nice refresh. So I do think that that's going to change, but it was just very interesting seeing all these people coming up to me and talking about their platform that does streaming and how cool it is, but they use whatever centralized transcoding services out there, and they haven't even thought to look into the possibilities of Livepeer.
That's fascinating. What were those conversations like? Were people excited to hear about something like Livepeer, or were they resistant to change? Like how did that conversation go, you think?
They were excited. I'm probably not the right person to answer this specifically. I think Darshan, who isn't in here right now, but he was one of the marketing guys for Livepeer, and he was there, and he was really trying to push Livepeer out there. I tried to get him into this water cooler, but he has not responded to me. But yeah, people were excited. I don't know how to simplify the technical aspect of Livepeer enough to like give a one-line pitch to people about why they should switch to Livepeer. So I probably failed in that regard, trying to switch people over. But I'm sure Darshan had some success there.
I have a question on that. Do you know, were they doing live streaming or are they doing on-demand streaming, or both?
A lot of the guys there are doing live streaming.
Okay, interesting. Because that's
Even
obviously
even Mark Cuban's app does live streaming, and they do multicasting that goes to like Twitch, YouTube, Facebook all at the same time. And I have no idea what they're using, but it's definitely not Livepeer.
Yeah, most of what I've encountered in like less technical circles are people who know about Theta. And then of the people on the Theta team I've met who are even technical, they seem very from my understanding, Theta hasn't even attempted to tackle like the GPU transcoding issue. Like they have a lot of interesting stuff they've done with M1 chips, which I guess initially they thought would be their big in. And then I think a lot of people who are like vaguely technical, like my friends who do security stuff, they saw Joe Grand's video, who's sort of like a famous security engineer who has a YouTube video on his channel where he broke I think like a Trezor wallet for some guy who forgot like his key. And then ironically enough, what was stuck on this wallet were like the Theta tokens. And then as a result of that, there's now a ton of YouTube content of like the next big live like streaming blockchain thing. And it's all seemingly just been Theta because they've, I guess, already have like a streaming platform that then they roll into their backend that they claim to be decentralized, which I'm not convinced that's really what's going on there. But yeah, the biggest resistance I've run into are people who go, oh, like live streaming blockchain stuff, low, like, and they say, oh, like Theta. And then there's an assumption that they're like technically way far ahead. And I guess from at least the thinking I've done, which granted has not been super deep, even with their technical team, it seems to me like they are kind of way over their heels on like marketing and like having pretty stuff that people who aren't technical like. But in terms of actually having solved any of the hard technical problems, I think Livepeer is clearly, I would say, years ahead of what Theta has done. But obviously, you know, if people don't know about it, then there are other challenges. But yeah,
I think a big thing is that they win on setup, right? Like I think when I tried it once, it took me like 5 to 10 minutes to set it up and then start running. I mean, granted, it like makes almost zero money throughout the like multiple days of doing it, but they like it's just a very easy to use platform for people who are just kind of interested in learning about it. So I think that kind of helps them with their marketing thing. It's like you don't have to dedicate 40 hours a week to getting it going. So
definitely. Yeah, a metric that they seem very uncomfortable sharing was how it was like the average life or uptime of a given person contributing work to the Theta network. So I guess my assumption would be that's very low. And again, and also my experience when I was messing around with their stuff was it was very easy to set up, but there were basically no bandwidth requirements. Not seemingly great upsides if you had solid bandwidth, and then yeah, like I ran it for like 2 months and it basically made nothing. So
I mean, I guess that just shows that people don't really care, at the moment at least, they don't care about the underlying technology of a platform, and they just want pretty things that are simple to use.
yeah, I think you can see the gears start turning with people though, where, and this is probably just because I'm old school with the way I look at a lot of these tokens. And when you go to like NFT conferences, it's a very, or conferences that are like aimed with that, like it's a very mixed bag. Because some people are very technical, and then other people are there because they're like, oh, cool art that became super worthwhile over time. Like, and I think it's interesting because there's some like when you tell people like, well, look, like, you know, if you think about it as in like, sure, the token's worth something or it went up or down X amount, but like what problem or like value is it really providing? And then when you sort of get some of this to make the link that like solving hard technical problems in most cases with tech companies is where like you end up getting real value. That's like the closest I've been to sort of, you know, taking off my developer hat and being like, this is kind of how I think about it. And then obviously there are probably a lot of people who do crypto stuff who'd be like, well, that's a stupid way to look at it. But that's kind of how I've tried to like bridge that, not like gap in understanding, but maybe just like a different way of looking at crypto stuff. If you're talking about like just a token or, I think a really interesting angle, and Yondon and Eric have sort of briefly touched on this, but I think as much as I think NFTs are kind of not like purely a grift, but I think maybe weren't like the most productive thing. I think like the notion of live streamed NFTs or NFTs that are kind of ephemeral and require streaming is a part of their infrastructure. I think that could be interesting and productive in some way. And when I mentioned that and people kind of sort of got what that meant, they kind of got excited. So maybe that's another potential angle, but yeah, just my thoughts there.
I wanted to offer some thoughts on Theta because I've just read into it a little bit. I don't know right where they are with development. I haven't set it up, but my reading was that like the founders behind it were kind of like YouTube, corporate, Google kind of people, and so it didn't seem to have that organic open source appeal. But one of the things they seemed to have going for them was a focus on some type of distribution, CDN kind of system built into their solution. And I think Livepeer does what it does really well, and that's its best value proposition. It does one thing very well. And maybe that's where they're failing, is trying to do multiple things. But I think that CDN component is something we've talked about before with Livepeer and would be a great way to compete with Theta long term. And it might even simplify the stack for developers, you know, trying to put a stream up. I see a lot of broadcasters come in thinking, you know, oh, I can broadcast on my website live with this, and they're missing the actual hosting component of the video. And they assume that Livepeer can do that for them. So just some thoughts there.
Yeah, I've used Theta. I actually got into Theta before Livepeer, and yeah, I had an interesting experience running. Yeah, it's you know, out of the box. You just double click. It's got a beautiful window, and yeah, it's CDN. They really focused on the CDN part first. That was their whole thing. They're currently in beta testing with their transcoding, and I can tell you it does not work. Like, I was trying to run their transcoder. It would constantly fail, and you would never get any streams. And even if you did, like, I don't understand how. Anyway, the transcoding side didn't seem to work very well at all. And then they're also trying to do storage. So they're trying to do three things in one, which is content delivery, transcoding, and storage, right? Because those are the three major things for video, and which they understand because they run Twitch and Twitter and Twitch and YouTube and all these things. But they're trying to do all three things at once while also having like a platform at which Theta.tv, which is their own platform which competes with any of their competitors that want to build on top of Theta. So it's kind of weird. They compete with their own They have an internal Theta.tv that competes with anyone that wants to build on top of Theta. But really, yeah, their transcoding side is non-functional at this point. And I actually had a question in Reddit asking if people could use Theta and Livepeer together and whether there would be a partnership there. And maybe I answered it wrong. I should have said, of course, yeah, if you're truly open to centralized protocol, you can interoperate between all protocols if they're built properly. Instead, I went like, Theta sucks, Livepeer's great, which probably wasn't the right answer. But what happened was, Theta is an interesting project, but I think it lacks, like you said, some of the fundamentals on like problems it actually solves. Not to mention it has 8 patents, which doesn't make sense. And their validator nodes are run by Samsung, YouTube, Google, all the big boys. So it doesn't really make sense to me, but that is a really fascinating topic. I'm glad to hear different opinions on Theta.
Yeah, I think that's one reason why it's important for Livepeer to sort of compete, to a degree. I think the CDN would be a really helpful component. If we had that, it would help to put it together in a nice little package like what Theta has. We're still light years ahead of them on the more difficult stuff, but
Yeah, it's just the front end that we need to really get down.
But at the same time, let the developers do their own front end, right? Like Livepeer doesn't need to build out a front end, in my opinion. But who am I?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and I guess the only other
Nice,
thing that really
but-
that I guess left, not to still jump on like the bad mouthing Theta bandwagon here, but I know some people who used to write at CoinDesk and who are pretty aware of these networks of like YouTube scammers who are pretty much like are people on YouTube who make a bunch of crypto content and just will shill for money like anything. And supposedly Theta's been pretty hyped to like funneling a lot of money into those kinds of avenues. So and I guess for me, like if you're bad at even hiding that, then it's going to be hard for me to take some of the work as seriously as projects like Livepeer or others that are a bit more transparent. So
yeah, one of the things I also looked into was because I'm running a pool node. What I wanted to do was somehow match that up with other protocols that would nicely launch, I guess, or operate beside a Livepeer node, right? So a node has high bandwidth, transcoding, good location, high bandwidth, and it would be a great place for things like a CDN and also storage, right? So in the Nightnode pool software, I was debating, should I give the option of the pool operator to launch multiple networks, right? Like, so, okay, yeah, you can launch Livepeer. Also, hey, do you want to launch an Aweave node? Hey, do you also want to launch, just a one-click deploy of like 3 nodes that, one's CDN, one's Livepeer, one's storage, right? Let them earn multiple streams of income from a one-click deploy, right? And I was thinking about including Theta in that. I thought, oh, well, great, one-click deploy. Let's start with Livepeer and Theta, right? Do them both. And like, you couldn't with Theta. Like, you couldn't, there was no client interface for running a Theta node. Like, it wasn't possible. And that really surprised me, actually. Like, there's no way to contribute resources to Theta. Like, there's only you only can just open up the app and watch stuff, and that somehow accumulates resources. So I thought I found that really interesting. You can't actually just contribute resources to Theta. So I've been looking at other protocols to maybe somehow multi-launch into one executable. But yeah. Authority, do you want to just quickly, not quickly, but you want to a little bit more on NFTLA, or are you good with that?
I'm good with that. I'm glad you guys brought up Theta because I completely forgot. But yeah, everybody I spoke to who didn't know what Livepeer was totally understood Theta, which just a very interesting dynamic. But yeah, I think I've covered everything.
on that topic, you mentioned your your pitch for Livepeer wasn't maybe, there's what the famous 60-second pitch, right? Or 90-second pitch,
Right.
or 30-second pitch, or whatever. Does anyone here think they have a good 90-second pitch they would like to share? A 30-second pitch?
Yeah, like if you were to meet someone at an event and you wanted to pitch them Livepeer and they had some kind of streaming that they were doing and they're already utilizing something else, like what would you tell them to get them off of that platform and onto Livepeer?
Yeah, because this is something I've been trying to think of during my trip to DevConnect. Is I'm going to be meeting. There's almost like two hats you have to wear for your 90-second pitch. One is towards layman people and venture capitalists, so you can explain to them what the project does and how it fits into the ecosystem. And then the other is to developers, explaining the benefits of switching to Livepeer, right? So I've been working on my my layman term one, and you guys can criticize me on this and see if you can improve it. But here it goes. It goes something like this. Okay, video on the internet takes up about 80% of the network bandwidth around the world, correct? And they go, yes. And you say, okay, all that video, but 99% of it needs to be transcoded, okay? Does that, yeah, I know you don't know what transcoding is, but it does, okay? Does that make sense? Yes. Well, Livepeer can do it 10 to 20 times cheaper, right? And so there's just a huge incentive to move over because it can do it so much cheaper. That's the value proposition for Livepeer, and that is for layman people. Does that make sense? Is that true in any way? Does people find a hole in that?
That sounds good, but then what if they ask, okay, what's the first step I need to take? Like, where do they go first?
Well, then that's where you say, you know what? Why don't we sit down for a coffee and we can chat all about Livepeer?
Fair enough.
What I like to tell people is that, what Livepeer does transcoding wise, and specifically explain to them that, transcoding is what makes the picture fit on the screen, like whether it's a mobile phone or a laptop or a desktop or a TV, that's the reason why we need it. And then some people are really big about the decentralized aspect of it, or they don't want to go with a big corporation that can shut them down. And so I like to put out that point a lot. And then I also like to point out that it's the cheapest network available today. So it's going to obviously save you money. Those 3 points, I don't know how best to put those. But
hold on, I want to write down those points because this is something I'm trying to tighten up. I want to create a 90-second pitch for Livepeer.
I also
Yeah.
have some sentences for a small pitch.
Yeah, go for it.
I just wrote it down randomly. Livepeer is an awesome open source, community-driven, decentralized GPU computing platform where you can basically rent out your GPU and earn fees while still using your computer normally without drawing any much more power. It's energy efficient and a great way to earn passive income.
Dude, that sounds amazing.
That's awesome.
Sign
That's
me up.
more for the orchestrator side,
just,
though, right?
Actually, after you said if anyone had a few sentences, I just wrote it down randomly. It's yeah, it's not the best, but it's still nice, I think.
Dude, I love it. That sounds amazing. But I feel like that would be really so. I just put out a video trying to get gamers to targeting gaming PCs. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but it's a video for how people can join the Nightnode pool and earn passive income. And the whole thing is around how to make passive income from your gaming PC. I've decided gamers are the best ones to target. Not mining operators or people with mass amounts of GPUs. They always come in and they seem really greedy and get really upset when they haven't made $1,000 today, right? And gamers seem to really be okay with having it on in the background, earning $20 to $50 a month,
Yeah.
and just yeah, like I've really focused on gamers lately. It makes sense. And so that what Justin just said is pretty much what I've put out to my gaming PCers, right? It's like you can make passive income with your gaming PC, you know, provide valuable resources. Yeah. That is definitely for the game, the transcoders. But Elite Proxy, what did you say? Okay, I want to write down three things. You said it was cheaper, it fits video to all screens, and or something like that. What were your three topics?
Yeah. Those are the two. So, and then there's a third one. Yeah. So first would be, they want to know, what is transcoding? Why do I need it as a developer? This is what makes it accessible to people on all screens, whether it be a cell phone or a big computer screen or a tablet, based on the end user's bandwidth requirements. The Livepeer is an important component of a live video streaming stack, right? The other thing is it's really the cheapest platform available out there on the internet, my understanding. And then another component is that it's not corporate run. It's open source. If you're someone who is streaming, I don't know, political content or something like that, there's a big niche market for that type of stuff, and it's not going to be your entire stack, but it's the most costly part of your stack generally, and it's going to really help you save money and provide a you might call it an uncensorable stack. So those are kind of the 3 points. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm literally writing those down.
And but you could probably say that much better. But
I have something else. For broadcasting, I don't know actually if it's possible, but I think I saw a picture where you're able to render an image in Blender, for instance, on the network.
Really?
I don't know. I maybe it was something else, but I thought it was Livepeer.
That would be super cool if that's possible.
I mean that would be my main reason to use the platform actually. If I would be a broadcast, if I would be in broadcast or something, because I wrote down, as a broadcast you are able to gather the resources of thousands of GPUs and render your image without a costly high-end PC. But if that's not the case, that sentence doesn't make any sense.
I missed that. What were you asking, Justin?
If it's possible to render an image in Blender, for instance, with the network, like send a few data sets to a different PC or to the network, and
currently no, but I think that may be something that's possibly on the roadmap for, like, I mean, still far out. I mean, I've heard it talked about, but currently it's video.
Okay.
Just video. Yeah.
That would be very, very cool.
Okay,
there is render. Oh, yeah, sorry. There is render that allows you to do that, but I don't know anything about how that works.
Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. Someone says, venture capitalist walks up, says, what the hell is Livepeer? I say, okay, let me explain this to you in 30 seconds. First, you have to understand what transcoding is, right? So 80% of the video on the internet, 80% of the bandwidth on the internet is from video. 99% of all video needs to be transcoded. And what is transcoding? Well, transcoding makes video accessible to all screen sizes, right? So whether it's iPhone, iPad, or TV, right? So we got that straight. Okay, we understand the problem. The solution, Livepeer, is 10 to 20 times cheaper than any other service out there, such as Amazon or other centralized platforms. And Livepeer is built on the blockchain, so it's decentralized, immutable, uncensorable, and all the profits go to node operators around the world rather than corporations. Does that make sense? Yeah. Does that sound like?
That is great.
Does that sound like three good pain points?
Also, it's scalable for the broadcaster. They just pay for what they use. They don't have to pay for slots they didn't use. They will not use. They have just to pay for what they use because they pay per pixel.
What?
Yeah, it's a
no
really
contracts or anything like that. One thing I wanted to add also was that when you're explaining what transcoding is, because I've found that most people have no idea what transcoding is unless they're technical, is that aside from just transcoding to different resolutions for different size screens, the reason that you're also doing that is to make the file smaller, which saves on bandwidth costs, which is the most expensive part of streaming. So it's just something that helps people understand that's
Yeah,
the benefit.
thanks for bringing that up. I was going to add that, Papa Bear. Thank you for bringing that up, because I've actually streamed 1080p to an iPhone. It's not a problem. It's just if you're on Wi-Fi, it works great. But if you're on LTE, it won't. So yeah, bandwidth is really more the technical constraint for in purpose of need for transcoding. But for your layman person who's trying to understand it, the screen size makes a lot of sense to them.
Well, the purpose of a 30-second pitch is to get a 5-minute meeting, right? The only purpose of a 30-second pitch at the end is, if you'd like to learn more, right? Why don't we sit down for a cup of coffee? And then that's when you can dive into all the specifics. So I think, what you typically do with a 30-second pitch is you address 3 pain points and you get to see if they're interested. And then the point of a 30-second pitch is to get an appointment, right? So what I'm trying to do is make it super broad, super high level to pique their interest, just to go, hey, well, why don't we talk about this? And then that's when you can jump into like, well, the purpose of transcoding really is, you can go on and on and on about it. But
yeah, and since you're already mentioning that it is cheaper to use Livepeer, I think you're also covering that the cost savings in your quick pitch. So that so yeah, that works for me.
Yeah.
Would you bring delegating into that 30-second pitch, or would you save that for like the main meeting?
No. Well, so
if you can get that in 30 seconds, you're good.
No. You leave that out. You leave that out. Yeah. No. That the whole ecosystem. Like I've raised capital before, right? And like your 30 seconds needs to be like just the tip, like literally, like it's like just enough for them to go, oh, I want to know more, right? Don't give away any of the pie,
You mentioned the bandwidth. Wouldn't that be like displacing, or no, like moving the problem to another section? Because let's say, for instance, one server handles all the transcoding and all the data goes to one server. It wouldn't make any difference if it goes to 1,000 servers, except of that it's like the maximum bandwidth of one cable, for instance. That would be one point of lowering the bandwidth needs, if you get what I mean. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense, or does it? Maybe I'm also understanding it wrong. I don't know.
See, this is the problem. You know too much. You gotta. You're dealing with venture capitalists. Okay, these people don't know anything, and you have to just explain to them what the problem is you're solving, right? And one of the ways of convincing them to sit down and talk to you is to give them a grandiose problem, right? And one of the ways of doing that is giving them a fact that is impressive. And when I learned that 80% of the bandwidth on the internet is from video, that was an impressive statistic, right?
That's true.
Right? So you go, well, did you know that 80% of the video on the bandwidth on the internet is from video? And they go, no, I didn't know that. Oh, did you know that of that 80%, 99% of that, the video needs to be transcoded? And they go, no. And you go, well, do you know what transcoding is? And then you lead them down this like path of interest, right? And
That's
then
interesting, yeah.
Yeah. And then you say, well, Livepeer fixes that problem 10 to 20 times cheaper. Would you like to sit down and talk about it? And they go,
I think those 80. I think from those 80%, like about 75 are porn.
Well,
I mean, you can keep that part in if you want. Yeah, some VCs will get it.
Probably. Like they'll probably be like, I'm gonna invest in that. But then the real question is, and I think Justin, your point you're you're hitting on this. There, you wear a different hat for different people, because I don't need to explain that to a web developer on why he should move from AWS to Livepeer, right? I don't have to explain to him stupid statistics that are probably would impress a venture capitalist, but not a tech person, right? So you'd have a different 30-second pitch for three different people, right? 30-second pitch for a venture capitalist, which most people are in that mindset, right? Most people are in the, I want to invest, I want to get rich. These are most of the people you're going to probably come across. Then you have your developers, which is, you can use Amazon, no problem, but Livepeer is 10 times better, immutable, decentralized. Would you like to talk about it? And then you have your transcoder as a pool operator. I'm trying to encourage pool operators, transcoders to come in. So my pitch to them is earn passive income from your spare gaming PC, right? So anyway, I don't want to take over too much on that. Authority, because I kind of jumped in. What were the type of people that you met at NFTLA?
It was actually mostly developers and people with applications that they were trying to build and get noticed by more people. So I didn't meet as many VCs, but they were definitely there. A ton of VCs. But yeah, I just kind of got lost in overcomplicating things. So this was really helpful, and I think it's super, super important with all these in-person events coming up. Like, even just the people in this Discord, if we're all running around with this 30-second pitch, I feel like we can really, really push Livepeer out there.
Yeah, I'd have to modify it. This pitch won't work for developers. This pitch,
Right.
You'd have to. If you ever want to come up with a 30-second pitch, the simplest is find 3 pain points and ask if they have them. And if they do, you offer to sit down with them. Otherwise, this is not worth anyone's time.
Yeah, and I think the bandwidth part is really applicable to developers. Maybe they already understand the issue. You might even be able to fit it into the investor pitch, just 2 or 3 additional words along with the screen size. But yeah, it's. I think you got a good pitch there.
And I guess it would be like. So here's 3 possible pain points. Do you have high? You're a developer. Do you have high costs from transcoding? And they probably say yes or no. You say, do you have whatever pain points developers have? I don't know what their pain points are. Right? Do you have high costs? Yeah. Do you have? Do you want to pay only for what you use? And I don't know. What's another pain point that we're fixing?
Are developers limited using something like AWS? Is there a barrier they hit? Can they build on it enough? Like, I don't know anything about the developer side of this.
There's an Akamai product that has they'll limit how many people can watch your streams because they have the overall CDN piece too. They also have cases where they limit the total amount of minutes you can stream under a certain monthly plan. Like Livepeer is infinitely scalable. It has no such limitations. There's something there to be said, I guess.
I mean, you are definitely expanding the uptime of a video transcoding because it is decentralized. There is never going to be a point in time where no transcoder is available ever. So you are basically not like, what is the English word? Dependent on one service that might go down or that might get DDoSed. Since it is decentralized, you're also solving that issue.
Unless Arbitrum fails, and then, well, we don't have to keep that in the pitch, but...
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, here we go. Here's another problem maybe. So, do you have high costs from transcoding? Are you worried about redundancy and uptime? What's the third one? Yeah, whatever.
Infinite scalability.
Infinite scalability.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
if someone is unfortunate enough to be running FFmpeg on their own servers and they don't even know about third-party services, you might benefit from an introduction to offloading their transcoding.
Oh, this is the other thing. Are you worried about platform or infrastructure risk that can take away your business from underneath you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's by the way, that's why Livepeer exists.
Mm-hmm.
And that's happened a lot these days. Like Shopify went down a while ago and screwed over a ton of developers. So that's definitely very relevant.
There you go. Okay, these are my 3 pain points. Do you have high costs for transcoding? Are you worried about redundancy and uptime? Are you worried about platform risk or infrastructure or platform risk? It's called infrastructure risk. That's probably the right word. It's not very specific. Anyway, there you go. 3 pain points. And if they say yes to either one of those, then that's when you sit down and go, well, let me tell you about Livepeer. Otherwise, you just say, dude, if you don't have these problems, like, there's no point of me talking to you. This is, this is a waste of our time.
Cool.
It's cool. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. Sorry, we've been hounding on that. I'm always really curious about how to get a conversation started, because if you can do that effectively, you become a super networker at these kind of events, because it filters away the people that will waste your time, and it quickly intrigues the people that are potentially going to use your product or something, like their product or service, right? So I'm like, 90-second pitches are really, really important. Papa Bear, let's talk about yours. Payouts on layer 2. Let's explain to us what you've been seeing.
Well, it's kind of a two-parter. One is just sorry, and I don't know if anyone here would know this, but why, like, what's the determining factor on like what the payouts are now, like the amounts? I'm just wondering why that changed. I mean, I understand sorry, it's a different amount, but I just don't understand why it's a different amount every time, and what that's like. What was there a formula or something that's going on? So there's that. Just
They
general
had
question.
mentioned, what was it? Either Dab or somebody was mentioning trying to keep the overhead to 1%. However, it's like if the tickets that you're getting now are like $2.75 or so, and it takes you $1.50 to redeem it, you're kind of way past, like under that 1%. So I think the variability or the dynamic aspect was supposed to be to control. That's how it was supposed to be on layer 1. It just wasn't priced like efficiently to do that. But that was the original intent, I guess, for layer 2. But
So we never got any official word or anything, though. Like that. Like I guess maybe that's another issue. Then is I feel like there's no real good way to get like answers right now from the team on things that come up. I feel like they used to be more involved in Discord, and if we like tag someone and ask them, we'd get responses kind of quickly. And now it just kind of seems like you may get a response, you may not get a response. And it seems like certain things don't really need to have like an issue created in GitHub, just to ask a question. But I mean, maybe that's the way they want everything. So I guess that's getting a little off topic there, but I find it interesting that none of us orchestrators know how the payment is like how the amounts are working. So there's that, and then
the code auditing too. Is there a way that we can also audit the payment system per chance? Like, is there where's the code for that payment system?
You'd need to ask someone more technical than me for that.
Well, yeah,
yeah.
But if anybody here knew,
that would maybe be like, Syrinx, do you have any idea how that would go about?
Yeah, sorry, what was the question? Can you repeat that? So I
like I guess is there a way to audit the like the micropayment system? Is that open sourced? Is everything open sourced on, like, is that part of the open source software for Livepeer, or is
that I I don't know. I believe that is implemented at some level within the smart contracts, and my current knowledge is most of the contracts that are developed, that are deployed, and all of those you can see.
Right.
The specifics of the selection algorithm, I'm not.
This isn't really the
entirely
selection. This is more of like, I guess, just auditing the. I guess, I mean, I guess you're asking, Ryan, are they fair? Like, I mean, are they like actually like coming out to be the statistically? No, I don't even know if statistically.
Yeah. Well,
matching
so
the
so I
probability.
so what I don't know. So I think so. Basically, the contract that's sending out payments to orchestrators, the like last leg of that, you can definitely go and see it, because if you receive a payout, like an Etherscan, like that'll point back to the contract, and then you'll be able to see every distribution that contract is made to, and to what address. You won't be able to tell like who it is exactly, right? Unless obviously the address is like still directly associated with the orchestrator. And what I don't know, but I can look into, is whether or not all of the logic with the payments is happening within that contract itself, because there's a chance that that's pulling from somewhere else. And yeah, so I can look into that. I don't know for sure. And then I can definitely ask if it's something that I can't dig into. But yeah, and then I guess like yeah, it's you do raise a really great point though, in that another kind of important thing to consider with a lot of open source projects, or projects that herald themselves as being open source entirely, is that although even when you can see the code, you don't always necessarily know what is hot, deployed, or actively deployed. And for instance, sometimes there are really good reasons for this. For instance, Livepeer sometimes said, yeah, like we let other people audit like semi-live deployments before we actually put that up on GitHub, so that people aren't just finding exploits all the time. But yeah, just something to also just think about. Not that that's anything that would affect Livepeer, but yeah, I can look into that, Papa Bear, for sure.
I mean, it would be interesting just to make sure that like there's no like mess ups in the logic or anything. And part of the reason I ask is just because I mean, and I understand statistical probability and stuff like that, and sometimes things just you get a bad streak of luck. But I've been on a bad streak since I started here as far as payments go. But I mean, I have like kind of just roughly like tried to like figure out like how other people are doing as far as payments go, and it seems to be relatively fair. So I mean I guess it could just be that I'm just on a really bad luck streak, which then kind of tied into let's see, how do I even phrase this, like, so I guess now, like it used to be like when the payment amounts or payouts were all the same, you knew it was like 180,000 tickets would be like, that's the probability is you'd get a payout at should have one roughly every 180,000 tickets. So if you were at 360, you knew you were like a ticket or two behind. Now it seems like there's just no way to know like where you even kind of stand, because the tickets all have kind of, I guess, just all different, really all different values. So does knowing the amount of tickets you have just kind of like doesn't really have the same doesn't mean like what it used to, as far as knowing where you stand as far as payments go out. I don't know if I explained that or said that in a way that makes sense to anyone, but if anyone wants to chime in on that.
I definitely don't know, but then again, I've only recently sort of been catching myself up on the specific changes that have been made to the distribution or the payments sort of flow as of the Arbitrum migration. So
Right. Okay. So yeah, go ahead.
Because if you expect like, I mean, and it's ranged all over the place. Like even when people were getting down to like the 0.04 payouts and everything, like it was down to where it was like every 36,000 tickets or so, it's expected that that would be like the complete a whole 100%, in luck. But then it's weird because even when it's variable like that, like you might go 2 months, right, and it might have spiked at its high point at like 0.12 Ethereum for the payout, right? But then when you finally get it, what if It's like if you get it when they're paying out like 0.04, like, oh, cool. That was 2 months of mining, or not mining, but
Yeah,
transcoding.
that's actually a really good point, and that's something that I forgot that I wanted to bring up. That was like, yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. Like when you like yeah, like if you get the winning, but I guess the probability is the probability that you'll get one of those tickets is goes down. You know, like when you look at the probability for the higher number ticket or the higher value tickets. So it's just hard. Like it was it's relatively hard for most people, I think, to understand just how the payment system worked, which I finally wrapped my head around on L1. But it's like now on L2, it's like so many new variables and factors in it that it's like I feel like it's just almost impossible to get an idea of where I stand. Like, I mean, if we just use I mean, right now I see like the highest ticket values tend to be about 0.09. And like since my last payout, I'm at over 200,000 tickets. So again, if I was like at one point ahead, I wouldn't be as concerned about it. But considering I've never been ahead, it just seems odd to me that that my luck is just that bad as far as getting payouts. I mean, I should definitely. I mean, statistically, I should have at least one, and I mean, I should have like two payouts for, and that's using like the highest value. And if we go down to like 0.4, where certainly a lot of them were. I mean, I should have like five more tickets than I have since my last ticket. So it's just, I was just wondering if anyone had like a good way of monitoring that, or or what do people even really look at that, or am I just like really anal when it comes to trying to figure out where I stand as far as payouts go?
I think we're in the same
You know, I'm
boat. I
always
don't.
looking at it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've
I've
received a
updated.
couple of tickets, but I don't know what's going on with the payments.
Chase is in the same boat. She's at 100,000 tickets and hasn't received a single payout yet, which is really. I mean, probably even worse off. And then
Oh, do you have no idea? I have like, I mean, like if we go back, I mean, I don't know where I am since L2, but I'm just saying, even just since my last ticket, 200,000. So like, I mean, but it's been like that since the beginning for me. I mean, like, when I had 1 million tickets, I was like 3 or 4 tickets behind, and now I'm like at 1.5 million, and I don't know how to calculate how many tickets because the value changes now. But I mean, I've been paid out less than I'm owed. And this is now coming up on, what is it? Like 7 or 8 months now. So it just seems like
Yep.
it may. I guess maybe the next question is then, is it worth considering making a proposal to have the payout frequency more often, so that for that it, like, because if you're a big orchestrator and you get a lot of tickets, I think it'll balance out uh, faster, or it won't be as big of a deal. But when you're a smaller guy and you're not getting and you're falling behind on your payments, it's that, like, even though they will supposedly catch up, you're getting really far. You're getting really far behind, because you're 1 or 2 tickets is a big deal. But if you're getting like 30 tickets a month, it's if you're 1 or 2 behind, it's not as big of a deal. I guess that's the pain I'm feeling as far as the way that the payment system's working.
yeah.
Maybe I would feel differently if I was ever ahead at any point. Like, like I looked at you, Titan, and like you've been like, you killed it last month. You got so
Yeah.
many tickets, and I was like, I'm doing like almost twice as much, transcoding as you last month, and I'm like, where are my tickets?
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see what they come out with when they remake. Like they were saying that they're going to reevaluate this, because I mean, if you then, not to put anybody on blast, but like if you see people that have say double other people's stake, but then they're getting like 1/5 of the total ticket amount, and it's like, okay, how is this selection process going? Because like you could look at the performance leaderboards, and then some of those people are at the top, but then they're getting like nothing. But then their stake is higher, but then they're also not getting anything. But then it's like, but then there's probability. But then it's like, how many hundreds of thousands of tickets do you need to actually catch up to that probability? And it's just like so unreliable for a decent chunk of people. And then there's people who have like 20 LPT, and then they're sitting at like a quarter of an Ethereum, and it's like,
I just
what is reality?
I just don't understand why we're still sitting at like $200 tickets. Like, why don't we reduce them to like $30, $40? Like, why are we still this high? Like, I thought they would be brought down to like really cheap. Like you know, I don't know.
Didn't they roll out an update for that?
Sorry,
Isn't there was there a flag that you could set to change the size of the ticket? I thought there was one that was introduced recently. I haven't found out about it.
I don't think so. I think like was it you, Fort Koonsman, that did a some sort of a rebuild where you're able to add that, but it's not like rolled out, right?
Right. B79 actually developed that. I added a CLI command option for it, but like, yeah, it's not. I think he made a pull request for it, but it's not in the. I don't think it's going to be in the next release.
So it's you could build it from there though, and do that yourself.
Yeah.
Fort Koonsman, can you go ahead and build us one, please?
Can we get a recompiled version?
Well, I'm actually happy to do that. I can put the compiled version up on my GitHub repo.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, because like.
So here's the thing: like, if you've noticed, any of the tickets I win now are all 0.01 ETH because I've set it that low. But I will say, even I'm still experiencing like being really behind in tickets. So I've set the face value lower. I'm getting a lot more tickets, but I'm still 0.2, 0.25 ETH behind. So even getting more tickets doesn't seem to solve the problem.
And I've actually noticed that because I'm that nerdy guy that actually takes every ticket and puts it into a spreadsheet for every orchestrator. And I've noticed that even though you have a lot of tickets, your payouts were not very high, especially considering how much stake you had, and you're a high performing node. So it just seems like there's something that's a little off, and I don't know what it is. I'm not accusing anyone of doing anything like maliciously or anything, but it just something just doesn't seem like it's working as advertised or as it's supposed to.
I will say that.
And I guess I don't know where to go with that. Like I just don't. I'm not a developer. I'm not like technical enough to be able to like look through code and do that. So I just I guess I'm kind of asking now at this point. What does anyone have any suggestions on what do we do? Is I feel like there's several of us who are kind of all feeling this. So does anyone have any suggestions on what maybe we can do to just put ourselves at ease and go, oh yeah, everything is fine. It's just that crazy law of big numbers thing, and we're just seeing things that that feels like we're behind more than we should be, but it will balance out.
I'm not an expert on this whole.
Sorry, you cut off, White.
I was just gonna say I'm not an expert on this whole probabilistic micropayments thing, but I'm wondering if there's an attribute here that should be like truly random but is not, like maybe how you like the nonce value that gets set by the orchestrator for each ticket received or something like that. I don't know if maybe there's something playing into here where there's
that's my gut feeling. My gut
feeling
is something like that is going on, because in all honesty, the amount of times that I see that, like, you'll see like one person will get like 3 tickets in a row.
Lols.
That doesn't seem to be statistically probable that happens that often. I mean, sure, that will happen on occasion, but it seems to be fairly regular that you'll see like, oh, look, boom, 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 that person just got 3 tickets. And obviously I'm going to leave like people like Varys out, who's obviously has a big node, high performing, but even with like a lot of times you'll see smaller nodes will hit a few in a row, and it just seems like that might be a bug that's causing that.
I will say,
and if it was occasionally, yeah, go ahead.
I will say, like, for the amount of work I'm getting, it's surprising how many tickets I get. Like,
you're way ahead. I mean, just based on like what my calculations I did, like you were one of the best performing like nodes to stake this last month. I was going to publish the numbers like I normally do, but I was trying to get a little bit more detail than normal, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to present it. But yeah, you had a really you had a really good bunch.
Yeah, like I'm winning tickets every 15,000 tickets. Like 15, 20,000 tickets. And that might just be luck. Like quite literally, just I'm
And
getting
it certainly
lucky.
could be. It certainly could be. But the thing that's one of the things that really stands out to me is when I just see like again like like 3 in a row going, or like it's a fairly common thing. So I'm just wondering like if it's something like Farkunfin was saying, that maybe there's something that's not doing the random part of it completely correctly.
Or maybe it's pseudo random rather than truly random, and that's causing a problem. I don't know how it would, but like maybe it would.
Maybe
So
this should be fit in with.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when I was listening to the quarterly Transcoder call, it talked about lowering the deposit requirement for broadcasters, and I wonder if this might fit into that just a little bit. Like if we had lower payouts, it might help broadcasters' need for lower deposit. Just a slight thought. And then the other thing is I have updated my Grafana panel because I have 2 nodes to reflect the average between the 2 different luck probability to get a better picture. I think I'm at like 59,000 minutes transcoded since my last ticket, which I was expecting them about every 26,000, 25,000 minutes based on Arbitrum. But yeah, it sounds like everybody's having that issue.
Yeah, but why minutes is a really bad example, because transcoding a minute of 480p and transcoding a 4 rendition video they're not equal, right? So
yeah,
the only way to gauge actual payments is how many tickets you get.
And the price and the value of those tickets too, which is based off your price per pixel. Am I right?
No,
you just get more tickets if your pixel price is higher. You'd get more pixels.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, more tickets per minute or per any time period.
Every ticket every ticket is standardized across all like nodes, and then your price per pixel determines how quickly you get tickets based on how much you're transcoding. So tickets is the only real way to determine how behind or far ahead you are in terms of winning a ticket,
and how much work you've done overall.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like is the thing that I had another like topic was, is there another system that where like the like maybe there's a way to like somehow like have the tickets saved on the machine in a secure way, and then you could cash them in somehow through like an escrow account or something along those lines, where like you can actually getting paid for the work you did as opposed to having the luck factor into. I mean, there's already luck involved or factored into whether you even receive the work. So to have like luck there and then luck on whether you get a payment, there's just a lot of luck involved for which I guess if those 2 things are going bad, then it would kind of multiply the effects.
Yeah, can't you be provided a hash for each incremental amount of ETH that you are allowed to withdraw, and then just you can choose to withdraw it when you like based on the hash that you're given?
I don't know enough about it, but that's kind of like what I'm thinking, something along those lines.
Yeah, like let's say you accumulate micro or GUI or whatever, you accumulate small amounts per segment, but each segment or each ticket, rather than it giving you a chance of winning a pot, it just gives you a new hash of the amount that you're allowed to withdraw, and then at any point you as an orchestrator can use the latest hash of the amount that you have saved up, and you can pay the gas fee and withdraw it, and the pool will let you be the escrowed account will let you, because you have a correct calculation. But I don't know how hard that is to calculate and how.
I was gonna say, I'm sure the team would just want to jump right on this and get going on it, but I'd love to see something.
I think
like
the difficulty there is the broadcaster reserve and deposit, right? Like how can you ensure that their deposit is going to cover all of the earned value that's been withdrawn, right? It's almost like a smart contract transaction has to happen every time somebody earns a ticket, right? To actually take funds from the broadcaster and escrow those on the blockchain. Because right now that doesn't happen, right? That's why the ticket method works, because as long as the broadcasters have enough to cover a ticket redemption event for any given orchestrator, the current system works.
Well, what if like when they're, I mean, basically that money though still does in a sense go to an escrow account, right? Because it's their reserve, or what is it? What are the two terms for broadcasters?
So there's deposit and then reserve. The reserve needs to have enough funds such that any one like all orchestrators that are active could claim a ticket from that broadcaster, and there would be enough to pay them out. That's the way I understand it.
But if the luck part of it,
but
if the luck part was taken out, then they wouldn't really need to have that much, because if that money was put into the escrow account, which I'm just calling it an escrow account, then you should be able to redeem from that. And if they want to pull their money out, basically it's a transaction for them to pull it back out. Am I missing something there? Because it seems like
what happens when?
Yeah.
What happens when orchestrators accumulate a bunch of earned ETH that technically they've got a hash value, something that says, okay, I can withdraw this at any point in time. What if the broadcaster pulls their funds? Then the orchestrators
there would have to be a hash that goes,
and the reason
towards the broadcaster that says like you can't pull out more than this amount because you've spent this much, I guess.
And that sounds like an existing issue too. I've never thought of it that way, but they do. I don't know how it works as a broadcaster, but as a broadcaster, at some point you have to pay out a winning ticket. But what if you pulled your funds halfway through and never
That's
paid
why
a
there's a 2-day. That's why there's a 2-day lockup period for broadcaster funds, so that if you want a ticket, you have until the second round to redeem it.
Oh, interesting.
Broadcasters can't pull immediately; they're locked for 2 days.
And the other thing I just thought of, if we were to do like a micro payment system, is let's say a orchestrator accumulates 0.001 ETH, and it's such a small amount that the orchestrator leaves the network and never comes back. Well, that deposit technically will never be redeemed, but it has to be left in the broadcaster account because otherwise you can't withdraw someone else's money that they can claim. So now you're left with dust, or at least micro ETH, scattered into a broadcaster's account, which will never be claimed on either side, and that's a problem. And so the probabilistic micro payment actually makes it a much cleaner for keeping the broadcaster account clean. I think that's another thing. And not having dust. Dust is really bad. Just my 2 cents. Anyway. Do we have any last comments on that?
Do you not hear Ryan talking? I can hear you.
Ryan was in the middle of saying something there. Yeah.
So I was saying is if you have a timeout or like a inactivity period, technically, can you?
Sorry. I want to cut in real quick. I muted Ryan by accident, and then I was talking. I muted him, and I was talking over him. I'm so sorry. Keep going, Ryan.
So I was saying is you, instead of letting it sit there, like you can have like this
Ryan,
is all.
Are you talking now? I don't know how to hear you.
I am talking.
Oh, poor Ryan.
Now it's even worse. Now we can't hear him either.
I can hear him. He's fine.
He's coming back.
I feel so bad.
He's in the audience now. There we go.
Hello? Anybody?
Oh,
I could hear you the whole time, Ryan. I think Papa Bear might be having some issues.
I heard Ryan. Wait, can you hear Ryan now? I heard him while he was talking, and Titan was like, "Does anyone have any further comments?" I was like, "Ryan's in the middle of going."
This is
Can
crazy.
you hear me now?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah, I got you.
God. All right. So what I was saying is like, and all of this stuff is like theory, right? So I'm just gonna throw some stuff out that might not even be possible, but like as opposed to saying that you have pending Ethereum out there that will never be claimed, like if it sits there for 60 days and with no activity from, and like the orchestrator is now unregistered and there's nothing you can do there, then like release it back to the owner, right? It's unclaimed funds. But the other thing too, with like the current payout system is because it's all luck, it's luck on both sides, right? I could start up my node or my broadcaster and I could transcode for stream for 5 minutes and they're going to be like, hey, thanks for the winning ticket. You just paid a person and be like, dude, I just paid $200 something for 5 minutes of transcoding. Like that's the other side of this too, is there is people like, I think Authority, when he first started, won like 2 tickets within a week, right? So it's like, awesome. Well, what if you're the broadcaster side of that and you just pay $500 for 2 tickets? Well, at the time it was 0.36 Ethereum for transcoding with somebody for 2 days. Like on the other side of that, then it's kind of like, holy shit, that's really expensive and abrupt. You know? Does that make sense?
Good point.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day, and I think it's another reason to get it to us to a point where maybe the payouts are a lot smaller and more frequent. It probably helps broadcasters and orchestrators, and like I mentioned earlier, I'd heard on the quarterly transcoder call that there is an effort to lower the broadcaster deposit limit to make it easier to bring more broadcasters on. So that would help us with stream volume too.
They also are talking about increasing the number of the orchestrator cap, but if you look at it right now, aren't we not even at 100 orchestrators?
Right. I didn't think that was a big. I didn't think that was a good idea either. We're not even filling up the 100 we need. We have.
Yeah, we're at 100 when we're not at 100, and then people who are in 100th place are basically like at a 0.25 average stream. It's like you're gonna dilute them even more.
Not to mention, like, I have 2 nodes and Varies has 2 nodes. Like, there's like duplicate nodes as well. Like, it's not even true 100.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean for point like 001, you can join right now. I might just start another node when we finish this call.
yeah, it's really cheap. You might as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming it'll get bumped soon, but yeah, that's we're getting into a separate topic there. Anyways,
let's do introductions real quick. We got some new people joining us. We'll move on from the topic because I think sure. we could talk about that all day.
Yeah, I don't think we came to any kind of conclusion, but it was still an interesting chat. So yeah, okay, go ahead.
I think we actually did. For Koonsman, if you could just show us how we can build, or at least if you want to distribute us a version where we can adjust our tickets, that'd be amazing.
You know what? Sorry, I know you want to move on, but that doesn't solve the issue because, like, for Koonsman was saying, he's done that and he's still behind on his ticket. So just getting more payments isn't solving the issue at hand. So I mean, well, it may be nice to get more tickets if they're just all small amounts and you're not catching up. It's really more of a how do we get everyone like closer to being at their statistical probability, I guess, is really what my concern is. So,
have you ever played roulette?
I have.
It doesn't matter how far you look back on the board. Every time you spin that ball, it's just gonna be different. So I don't know. But
it hasn't been different though. Like it's the same people winning tickets, and then every now and then maybe somebody else wins. But right now it doesn't really seem luck based. It's like the same 5 people over and over, and that's not really roulette to me. That's the same 5 people winning tickets, and sometimes it's like 2 or 3 in a row.
That's mafia roulette.
If they can get that change to the winning ticket size into, I mean, I think it would be a good idea to have that as an official release rather than like a fork, because my concern would be that could somehow mess with the overall payment system and cause even perhaps more issues. If there's, I don't know. I mean, you have to really test that really well, probably. before you make changes like that to the network, but just a theory, like the winning probability in Flag. But I think it's a great idea, and it's probably what they need to work towards for, I think, that June release.
I'm curious, at what rate did you set it? Like, what's your payment amount, and how often do you get payments?
Yeah, that would be the feature.
Of course, I can't pronounce your name.
For
Koonsman. What's the question?
What did you set your rate, your payment rate, and or the ticket amount? I don't know how. I mean, like, what do you set?
I set the ticket.
Do I get?
I set the ticket base value to 0.01 Ethereum.
Okay.
And theoretically, I should be getting a ticket every 1 to 2 days.
And how often do you get it?
I had one.
You got 16 last month. You got 16 last month. I can tell you that. I have the stats here. So that actually would be one every other day.
So there was a period of time where I was testing, and wait, 16 tickets? Are you sure about that?
Yep, but I do see some of those were 0.005. So
yeah,
so
I did test out a really small amount.
Yeah,
at some point I had to increase it.
You were killing me when I was copying and pasting those. But yeah, no. But those were much smaller amounts, obviously.
And like that's not sustainable because it costs what, $1.50 to redeem a ticket. So it got to a point where it's too small. Like I'm losing 10-15% of the earnings by doing that.
Yeah, but I do see 16 tickets, and that's what the bot reported. I didn't pull them from the contract, so I know that there were actually some tickets that were actually paid out that weren't accounted for. So I'm just going by what the bot put out.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't got any tickets in. I think I'm transcoding for 2 months now. And I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't have any Ethereum to redeem, but I would assume my count would still go up in Grafana. So I assume I did not get any tickets.
Well, do you know how many tickets you have since you started encoding again? Because I remember when you first came here, you got like 2 in a row really fast. So
yes.
you're probably expecting to get tickets more often than you would. But
I think so. But I would
it's
like
not
to get
just the number of tickets too. You got to consider what is the win probability of the tickets that you're getting.
Yeah, I just would like to get like $100 a month or maybe 50. I don't know. Instead of, I don't know, what's the normal ticket size right now? The normal
$200.
It's ranging.
$50
ranging quite a bit.
month maybe. It would be nice instead of 0. It feels pretty like it doesn't feel good. Like I don't get any nice feelings of knowing that I did not get any tickets yet. Maybe I'm bugged or something, glitched. I don't know. So that why I would love to have just a few tickets instead of one big ticket, just so you know, just so I know it actually works.
Yeah.
Well, I will put the compiled binaries up for the version of Livepeer that I'm using. And I'd be curious to see if we do a little experiment, if more orcs start forcing the face value lower, if across the board we start to see more winning tickets.
So you just need to change some compiler settings or what? Can you make a small README file on how to do it manually? Because I installed some C compiler stuff and
I'm saying I've already compiled it. I can put the binary up on my GitHub repo, like the executable.
I would love to see what you changed. So.
I mean that.
I'm
throw
curious.
The source code up there too. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Yeah, just send the link then later, maybe in Orchestrator or something. Maybe here. I would definitely test it. We could make like a small group or something. I don't know. Group chat.
Yeah.
So with some testers, because maybe it does affect something. I mean, we're 8 people, maybe, who would use it.
The only caveat is I don't know why this is. B79 ran into the same problem. You cannot run a transcoder on this executable. For some reason, it errors out. So like all of my setups are, I have standalone O and standalone T's that connect to the O. You have to run the O with this modified version of Livepeer, and then you still have to run your transcoders on the official Livepeer release software. So it's a little complicated.
If this is only a patch, I might as well put it up in my grant, in my web interface, so people can actually download this modified version, or maybe even set it in a value in the web interface. That would be a nice feature.
There you go.
Well, I mean, I'll upload the source code and the compiled binaries at some point today or tomorrow, and y'all can take it from there.
Yeah, thanks.
Cool. Syrinx is gone. I wanted to ask him a bit about his limit of risk to keys and what he was working on there. But he's not here. So, Elite Proxy. Well, let's quickly. I mean, we're almost at the end, but let's just do introductions real quick because, hey, we're here. Jason, well, Fort Kunzman, I don't think you've actually introduced yourself yet. You want to quickly introduce yourself and a topic?
Yeah, Joey here with Fort Kunzman Node. I don't actually have a specific topic other than what we've talked about already today, but cool. That's me.
Cool. Jason, would you like to introduce yourself and a topic?
Yeah, hi. I'm Jason. Like, I think almost all of us know each other. I've just been running Node for like almost 10 months now, I guess. And nothing much, just listening. It's kind of fun listening. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks for joining us. Thol, would you like to introduce yourself and a topic?
Hey guys, I'm Jaron. I am the lead developer for the Mist server team. I used to frequent these for quite a bit, but I've been absent for the last 2 months. Sorry for that. But I'm just checking in, seeing what people are talking about, that kind of stuff.
Very cool. Yeah, we got into an interesting conversation earlier about Theta and how Theta, compares in Livepeer and all these things. Do you have an opinion on Theta, Thol?
If I'm not certain if there's a few of these projects that I looked into to see what they were doing, and I'm not sure if this was one of the ones I looked into or not. So I would have to quick check. Give me a minute, and then I'll get back to you.
Sure. Elite Proxy, you talked about separate T's and a Go Livepeer bug. Do you want to just quickly jump on that topic?
Yeah, I posted something in the event chat earlier about it, and Papa Bear just threw his comments back into it. But I don't know if there's much to really discuss about it. It's just generally, apparently, it's been around since around September. When you're getting a lot of stream volume, you would see these spikes, and they would be rather consistent up in terms of time apart. I think the suggestion is 27 minutes. And so Papa Bear said, well, let's try to just run with NVIDIA flag on one GPU at a time. And that's where I was actually talking to Fort Kunzman earlier this week about trying to get a remote transcoder running on localhost. So that I could do 2 separate processes, one for each GPU. I never got that working, but I did get it I did leave it on just one single GPU. And I think we did have another little RPC issue where I took a lot of traffic over the weekend and got up to 10 or 12. And I put a screenshot in the chat there of what the spikes look like. It looks like I'm still getting them on a single GPU setup. So I don't know if that theory is valid, but it seemed like...
Seemed to I was gonna say my two GPU theory went out the window when I saw your graph or your chart there. And again, it was just a theory, but I used to get those all the time, and then I just happened to switch my setup around just because I'm running multiple nodes now. So I don't have any machines that are running multiple GPUs. And when you brought that up the other day, I was like, hey, you know what? I just realized I haven't seen that since I switched over. So I was kind of like, maybe it's related. And again, it's also because I did happen to notice when I was running multiple GPUs that I could actually see the stream switching from GPU to GPU at times, because they were different GPUs, and I know that the encode times were different when it would be on one GPU versus the other. And I could, like, I posted that in that issue you saw, where it's clearly, I mean, it was clearly moving at the same 27-minute interval, which was obviously it's not supposed to do that. So I thought it could be related to that, but
And I did get the idea that my streams might be sticking a little bit more, sticking around a little bit better after that change. So I don't know if there's any, I think it's inconclusive on my half there. I'll have to do a little more testing with it, but I was definitely interested in setting up remote transcoding on local hosts, and I got stuck there somewhere.
I just posted when you do the remote transcoder, you just make sure you set your client address to a local host and increment it by 1 so that they don't use the same port.
Yeah, I did make sure to do that. Good point.
And should work after that.
Yeah, I'll have to try it again when I have some time. I had turned on UFW firewall, and maybe that was messing with me a little bit because it looked like it was doing it different. Because what I was thinking of is there's also the orchestrator address, right?
Yeah, it's just localhost 8935.
Okay, and it's okay to run both remote transcoders on that same port. There's no way to separate those, right?
Yeah, because they're just reaching out to it, so they just
okay. They don't conflict with each other.
They only listen on the client, and that's the one that conflicts. Otherwise,
yeah, that makes sense.
Your transcoder is just simply just like dash transcoder dash service address localhost 8935 client address random port not being used.
That makes sense. And it looked like when I did localhost as the orchestrator address, it looked like it was coming up with like a control port number or something I saw in the logs on the orchestrator that it was working on. So yeah, maybe it was my firewall is blocking stuff for a minute there. I need to go back and retest it. When I put my public IP as the orchestrator address, which wouldn't make sense because you'd be routing a longer way through, that one always stuck to 8935. So anyway, I'll look at that a little bit more and see, but yeah, nothing too much there. It just, it definitely ran on one GPU and still saw those spikes. So that was interesting observation. And another thing, I mean, when the RPC stuff initially went down and I saw the traffic come in, the first of those spikes was when all that traffic came to me. So my theory about the spikes has been there's sort of a selection algorithm, right? And it's pushing streams to you. And at some point when it does that sort of cyclic in a cycle, so some kind of cycle, whether it be the random selection part of the selection process or whatever, that's where maybe some of those spikes are coming from. And I think in some cases, maybe the transcoder can't keep up with all that volume coming in all at once. But that's my only theory I have for those spikes.
But why the 27? I mean, I didn't look at yours to see if they were 27 minutes apart, but the 27 minutes apart thing, because I had it, Ultima Ratio had it, and various all reported having it. Oh, and Titan had it.
I don't have it anymore.
You don't have it anymore. That's interesting that you don't have it.
Are you running remote transcoders?
Yeah, all of
host.
Yeah, is they're all remote now?
Mine are all remote. Yeah.
Let me try that setup.
I don't get it even like if I'm running just like a local machine that has everything all as an OT. I don't get it on those anymore. I mean, and I've and I mean, like over the weekend I had many times where I was at 17 sessions on like my East Coast node and no spikes. So so that's why I was like, it might just have something to do with that. But you've proved that wrong. I just think it's really weird that it's 27 minutes apart, like across that were it'd be one thing if it was an isolated thing where one person was getting it, like something's wrong with your machine. But And again, like the fact that that hasn't ever been addressed and nothing's been done about it, that's kind of also what I was talking about earlier with, just doesn't seem like there's a really good way, like, so is that just like, we just have to live with that, you know?
I want to switch over. Thul, did you happen to look into Theta or what your notes were and what you've come up with?
Yeah, yes, check. This was not the ones I looked into, but I spent the last few minutes looking at it. It seems interesting. I'm curious to see if they solved some of the major problems that I think personally are unsolvable. I haven't been able to check into that because, that takes longer. The way they do the edge node caching is curious, but at first glance, it seems like they're trying to solve the CDN problem and not the rest of the ecosystem. So in a way, you could say that Theta could be one of the pieces to the puzzle that Livepeer as a whole is trying to solve. But yeah, whether it's like a winning piece or not, I'm not quite sure. They made a few technology choices that I don't necessarily agree with. So that's a thing.
What do you not agree with?
Well, for example, if you want to play streams on their network, you have to have the software installed, which is smart in the sense that it bypasses the limitations that browsers pose, but it also puts up a pretty big threshold for new people to join the ecosystem, right? Because you have to install something to watch anything, which, I don't know, I'm not sure if that's the right choice to make there.
Yeah, no. So Theta is they're their own. So Theta is their own blockchain. So they don't run on Ethereum or anything. They are secured under their own blockchain by validators of very large corporations. So Samsung, Google, Amazon, these kind of players. And there's only like I think 8 or 13 of the validator nodes. So they're run by big corporations. They have 8 patents, which I don't understand why they're patenting blockchains. But anyway, point is, they're trying to do all 3. They're trying to do content delivery network, transcoding, and storage. They've only rolled out their content delivery network so far. And their transcoding is in beta, which I've tried, and it pretty much doesn't work. And they are in talks on how they're going to figure out the storage. But yeah, Theta, by the way, is kind of like Livepeer's biggest competitor in a way, even though they're doing something quite different and taking a whole different approach. Authority was just talking how he went to NFT LA, and basically most people know about Theta, but nobody knows about Livepeer, and so educating those people would be really important, especially for the upcoming Livepeer Summit in Amsterdam.
Fair enough. Yeah, it looks like we have some marketing to do.
Yeah, are you going to Amsterdam?
Well, seeing as I practically live there, I will probably be around.
Lucky you, man.
Easy peasy. There we go. Cool. Well, we're coming up to 2 hours of doing this. Is there any last topics we wanted to cover before we close out this weekly water cooler chat? Yeah, today was great. I really appreciate the talk about the Theta and Authority Null's experience at NFT LA, because that's going to be really relevant to the upcoming Amsterdam meeting, which I think will be great. And yeah, so there we go. What I'll do is I'll sign us off for this week, and yeah, we will reconvene next week. And
Titan, I got one quick thing for you. Sorry to cut your ending off. Just because I know you were looking at the NetInt stuff for making standalone transcoders. Did you notice that there's a PR that has that in there and it's just waiting for approval? So you may be able to actually get to play with that sooner rather than later. It looks like it's just waiting for one more person to approve it.
Oh, really? So you can actually use NetInt?
But yeah, like I mean, like they have the flags, everything's ready. It looks like it's just ready to go, just waiting for like Yondon to say, "Yep, sign off on." It's been tested, at least from. I'll post it in the event.
Oh,
chat.
please do.
Take a look at it. Yeah.
I don't
Sorry,
know
what
if
was
you
that?
guys kind of kept up, but Roxlu has joined the team for the next foreseeable few months and is working on our new encoding software, and he is currently adding NetInt support to that. So that's fun.
Very cool. Yeah, because
Awesome.
Here at the office.
because I'm thinking about building a Livepeer ASIC miners basically, which is just netint cards attached to a motherboard. We already talked about this, but yeah, and
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to jump that in before you got off, but yeah, go ahead, wrap it up, and I'll put this in the chat. I have it here. I'm doing it right now.
Well, thank you so much for that comment though, because I am excited to see if I have an invoice ready from NetInt, but I have never purchased the GPU because I was like, well, I'm not gonna buy one that doesn't work with Livepeer. So,
well, it will, but you may want to wait for the next model, which is coming out soon, which will have support for AV1, and I think that's going to be a big killer application.
yeah, well, I was just buying this to mess around. It was
Yeah, fair.
$250 for a PCI slot. Because I'm trying to create a I'm trying to create a prototype on like what my costs would be to actually build one of these miners, and then figure out how much I would want to sell them for, and then also the software I'd have to put them on so that people could automatically just launch them. I still haven't figured out if this idea is actually any good. This is just something I've been thinking about.
I'm the first one that pre-ordered, so I expect to have one very soon.
Dude, I'm actually getting a pretty good list of people that want to buy these things. I'm pretty excited about it. But who knows? I don't know.
All right. Sorry, I'll let you wrap it up. My bad.
Dude, no.
Be careful about the form factor of those cards. They make two types, and one of them is a bit tricky to hook up.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna stick with the PCI because they just will slide into most motherboards.
Yep, that works.
Yeah.
The other one is interesting if you want to do like high density transcoding though.
Yeah, but I'm selling these to people at their homes, so density doesn't really matter. But
or it does, depending on how much space you have at your home.
That's true. Cool. Okay, I'll wrap it up. Thanks so much for joining us. We will see you all next week at the water cooler chat, and yeah, great to see you all. See you next week.
Later, guys. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Thank you. Bye.